Yes.
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
Okay, perfect.
Vinit, YouTube stream would go live once we have started the webinar, right?
Hey, folks, let me know when can we start.
Sure.
I think we should start, Shahrukh. It's already 6:04.
Yeah, we should. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, good evening, everyone. Hey, folks. I hope I'm audible and the screen is clear to everyone. Hi. So welcome to Great Learning Career Academy session, and yet another exciting session on how you can build your career in the domain of data analytics. As a recent graduate, this kind of a session actually, it gives me nostalgia, and I'll tell you why. I'll share my story, how I started my career, and then what kind of career domains, what kind of streams that we see today, and then how promising it is to build a career in the field of data analytics. So with this, let's dive in. Yeah, so my name is Mukul. I carry 15 years of experience in the field of analytics. I'll not term it data science here because, so now this has, really got very fancy name. A lot of people call it data science. A lot of people call it artificial intelligence. These are the some of the names wherein at the ground zero level, we simply call it analytics. So I am a person who started my career after dropping from IIT in the year 2003. And stock market was a place where actually, I saw that there's a lot of data. So I decided to, start working. I decided to work with the stock market. And let me tell you very honestly, I felt that if I know the skill, if I know the trick of making money, then I think, I need not do anything in my life. So probably that was like my yesteryears. I was just out of the college, and this is how I used to think. And then believe me, in the last 15 years, I have realized how wrong I was. So trading is a different ballgame altogether. I'm not going to talk about it. But yes, I learned basics of, doing data analysis. And then believe me, all of those things which I was learning while, you know, uh, while working, so those were like pretty amazing things. And then they were very simple in nature. If you have to see, what is what is the pattern between when the price opened in the market and then finally it ended. So if you put all of that in a simple Excel table and then create some kind of a fancy plot over there, you will see some pattern. So those kind of pretty basic stuff I started with. And then slowly and gradually, of course, I moved into more serious domain. I learned statistical analysis. I went to Indian Statistical Institute in 2011 to pursue my formal education in data science. After stock market, I moved to GE Capital and then worked for close to a decade. I handled multiple portfolios. Of course, these are like, some serious stuff that I'm talking here. I looked into healthcare. I looked into commercial finance, into the consumer finance. But my, interest, it actually, came into credit card modeling. So how we can actually identify whether, a customer will default, he will not make his payment on time. So those kind of business problems I typically dealt with. And then after working for close to a decade, in 2013 and 14, I came out of industry and I moved into academia. So since then, I have been training and mentoring people in the field of data analytics, and then this has been very fascinating because when I started my career, honestly speaking, systems were very slow. I saw this domain as a domain where people didn't know anything about analytics. People, I used to wonder why people do not talk about analytics. But today, here we are. We both are sitting here, and then in this webinar, and then I'm going to talk about the nuances of data analytics domain. So technically speaking, I am a person who comes from a pre-data science era. In our era, there was no data science, and that's the reason. As a matter of fact, I still call it analytics. You have some data and you can analyze that data. That is a very simple definition of analytics. So you analyze something to find out patterns from the data. And so I'll give you a couple of examples over there. But in the end, so I joined Great Learning in 2018, and currently I'm working as a general manager looking after data science and engineering. And then I apart from management, I also train people in the field of AI at the moment. So this is a little bit of my introduction. But let's talk business now. So the first and foremost thing that you must be wondering, okay, that why analytics, why this domain is something that a lot of people have started talking. Believe me, it's not a sudden movement you would have seen on social media, or maybe any channel that you use, whether it's YouTube or maybe Facebook or maybe anything, any blogs that you have come across. It's not a sudden thing that has happened. This is something that is happening over a period of years. It's just that in the last couple of years it has become more visible. It has become more vibrant because people feel that being a data analytics guy or maybe a data scientist, really it gives a very it's a cool thing. So that's what people perceive. But let me give you a little bit of examples over there, because I come from business world. I'll try to keep it simple, but yeah, let me give you a couple of examples. Now imagine today we live in a world where we all use smartphones have really become smarter over years. Okay. And because we all use smartphones, they're able to track each and everything. They know what kind of food we prefer. They also know what kind of habits we have. They also track what is our average sleeping time. Imagine that kind of a thing. They also know what are the places we like to visit. They also know in the last 6 months or maybe in the last 1 year what all places you visited, when you plan your holidays. They also understand what kind of shopping list you have, what is the wish list you have on Amazon or maybe on Flipkart. So they understand everything. They know everything. That is the kind of data tracking that is happening across. You might feel it a little spooky, but it's not spooky. This is how all of this works. And Google is one of the very powerful search engine that actually puts cookies into our systems, and through cookies they're able to track all of this. Okay, there's a lot of benefits on that, but yeah, I'll not go into how cookies work. So that's a different discussion. That's a technical discussion. But today, see, my point being of giving you these examples is about just to make you feel and give you that understanding that data is everywhere. So You felt that in the last 2 years, you were not going to college, or maybe, all the sessions and everything happened online, and therefore you kind of, put on weight a little bit, and you just want to loosen up. So you decided to buy Fitbit, or maybe Apple Watch, or maybe, any smartwatch. Now, these smartwatches are able to capture all of that information. They have our data. They understand our pattern. Okay, so just like the Fitbit is able to store all of the data, so just like the way they are storing your data, they're storing my data, and eventually, they are creating a repository of this data somewhere across on the cloud, or maybe in a local machine somewhere. A server is there in US or maybe UK, and they're doing all of that, right? And then they're just trying to find out the kind of pattern there. What generally people, what is the average weight of a person when he decides to use Fitbit, when he decides to buy Fitbit. Similarly, Amazon is tracking, when a customer will, prefer buying a Fitbit, what all things he searches on Amazon, apart from Fitbit. If you have visited Amazon and Flipkart, so you would have seen that the customers who have purchased Fitbit have also purchased these many items. The customers who have purchased iPhone have also purchased C charger. But it will never show you that the customer who has purchased iPhone has also purchased a Lakh product. It's not going to happen. Okay, so in a very simple way, in a very simple terminology, you will say that, okay, so related items, they show up on the web page. That's what exactly it is, and how all of these things happen. They happen only on the basis of data. See, guys, this is the power of data. Data is driving the decision making at all levels. Today we live in an era where the data is the oil of 21st century. So organizations who are able to capture that amount of information, the insane amount of information, and use that to benefit their business, optimize their cost, and increase their revenues. Those are the business trends that we see today, and those organizations, they become smarter over years. You look into Amazon is a very smart organization because they have consistently used their customers' data, their spending habits, to actually host those products which the customers are willing to buy, and therefore they'll keep on coming back time and again on their website, and they'll keep on buying stuff. And that's how Amazon makes money. Okay, that's a very simple example of that. And then perhaps this is the reason I've paused on this website, on this particular page, just to make you understand the data is everything that I'm going to talk in the upcoming slide. So the first thing, why analytics? That answers the question that because there is a data, and there's a insane amount of data lying everywhere across the globe. So we need professionals. We need people who actually have those kind of skills to simply analyze that data. Let me give you another example to understand this. So now imagine, you are in your city, you are in your state. So like I'm sitting in Gurgaon at the moment. So if I say that, so imagine, I'm you are working with Jio. As a matter of fact, I do not consider Vodafone and Airtel to be good companies. We all know, the obvious reasons. So let's say you're working with Jio. Okay, and in Delhi NCR region, I am just interested in finding out the average call duration of any subscriber. A very simple question. So I have all the call durations, and now I want to know what is the average call duration of a subscriber in Delhi NCR circle. Probably, you will say that I'll calculate the average there. That's like fairly okay. But in order to find out that average, probably we all have to undergo, more than 1 million rows of data. So that's the power of data. That's how the data has become very large here. It has become very large. That's the reason. There's a term that has evolved. Please go and search on internet whenever you get time. That is called big data. Okay, so that means the data has become large enough. In my years, I'm talking about 2005, 2006, 2007. The data was not large. In fact, GE is one of the largest companies across the globe, but still we had limited information there. So the data explosion has happened in the last couple of years. It has happened in the last couple of years, and that's the reason. There are a lot of companies across the globe. They actually they have built their business only on the basis of data. Now, you take the example of Facebook. Facebook is the biggest content company across the globe. Just like McDonald's. McDonald's is not the biggest burger, selling company. We all know that. I'm sure you would have seen Founder on Netflix or maybe Amazon Prime. So you would know that, Amazon McDonald's is one of the biggest real estate company in the world, right? Similarly, you look into Facebook. Now, Facebook is one of the biggest content company in the world. If you look into Uber and Ola as well, you will notice that these are the biggest cab service providers across the globe. The service is good or bad, that's a different discussion. I'm not talking about that. Okay. Another example, you look into Airbnb. Airbnb is again, it's a website that offers rental accommodation. If you travel across, so it's like bed and breakfast kind of stuff that we're talking here. So you go in any location, you search Airbnb, you will find out there will be some owner of that place who will actually offer bread and breakfast, and there'll be certain rental, and that's going to be a very 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 paltry sum. You pay that, you stay there, you have a very comfortable stay, you come out, and then you go ahead on your destination. So that's like a meant for travel backpackers over there. Okay, now these organizations, how Airbnb works, how Amazon or Alibaba works, how Facebook works, there's one thing that is very common. Facebook being the biggest content creator, or rather I would say content owner company, they hardly own any content of theirs. They do not build their own content. It is us who put a lot of content over there. Post, images, videos. We tag our own people, okay, in our images. Right now, Facebook is able to do auto tagging on its own. Okay, it's again a feature that comes from machine learning and deep learning algorithms. I'll not throw those very fancy terms. Okay, but this is like some kind of algorithm that works behind the curtain. Similarly, Uber and Ola, they are the biggest cab organizations across the globe. However, they hardly own any cab of their own. Okay, the same goes for Alibaba or maybe Amazon. They have a lot of warehouses, but it is actually the seller who is selling all of that stuff, all of those products, and they reach out to the customers, and Amazon makes sure that the quality of the products they are appropriate, they're at par, and they are not of substandard level. Okay, the same goes for Airbnb. So that's a website that will connect you with all the people who are able to provide that kind of service. Airbnb hardly owns any real estate of their own. So these organizations, the success, the very common quotient of their success is nothing but the power of data. They have all the data, and on basis that they are able to find out the trends. And if you notice that Uber has actually they have a very adaptive algorithm. I'm sure we all have experienced that. If you are traveling in festive seasons, the price of that same location from your house will be different in comparison to normal days. If you take any random day, so if you book a cab early in the morning when a lot of people are rushing towards office, the price that the algorithm will show you will be different in comparison to the same price for that particular trip, or the same distance to the same destination in the afternoon. The price will be different, and it will be absolutely different in the evening as well. So how all of this is happening? So there are people sitting like you as data analysts, or probably as a business analyst, who understand all of this. They see this kind of a pattern that the customer is in rush. There's a huge demand in the morning. And of course, it's time to capitalize that, it's time to maximize their profit in that kind of a scenario. Okay. And in the afternoon, we see that, people settle down because now they have reached their offices. There's very few people traveling. Then, of course, the prices are different. So every time we see that during the day, the prices are different, and the prices are absolutely different at night as well. This happens in case of Amazon as well. So if you go that there's a big billion sale, of course there's a lot of discount that they offer. So you'll say that, okay, yes, because they want to attract good customers, and then they just want to maximize their sale in those festive seasons. So guys, that's the whole point. This is what exactly any company wants to do, that they want to maximize their profit, reduce their cost or optimize their cost, so that their business flourishes. Okay, but now all of this decision making is happening on the basis of data. This is the power of data, and that's the reason this is one of the very fancy questions that people ask. The why analytics. This is the reason why analytics. So today, you pause for a while and think that, is there any sector, is there any industry where you do not see data? So as a matter of fact, there is no sector left, which is not affected by data. Every sector, like in education sector, I'm working for an edtech company. I'm in education sector. The tons of data that we capture. Imagine sports today. I don't know whether you guys have seen Moneyball. So go and see that. It's a very fascinating movie that is, that will tell you the power of data. and then how data can actually tell you the patterns, which of the players really do well versus which of the players are a kind of a random players, and then how you can use all of that in, understanding that insights to optimize and then create a team that will do wonders at the end of the day. So this is all about pattern recognition. Let me give you a very simple example of this. It's a very interesting example, and then it comes from United States. So there's a very, very famous case study. I generally refer to it when I teach in the classroom sessions. Is that there's a story of beer and diaper selling together. So this in United States, generally men go and buy the diapers. Okay, unlike the culture in India. Okay, so they go in and then buy the diaper for the kids in the weekend, and at the same time, because they are going into the store in the weekend, so definitely they want to grab the beer as well. So beer and diaper selling together. I think this happened in Walmart. I don't remember the name of the organization correctly. So I think this happened in Walmart, and then the analysts there at Walmart, they just simply looked into the pattern and they saw that these two products. I mean, most of the customers have these two products, common products. They're being sold together across. There's so many customers who visit us, and then this is a common pattern. This is a pattern that keeps on emerging, that keeps on surfacing time and again. So we feel that let's bundle these two products together. Let's combine them. Let's give them discount or whatever in the best of our capacity. Let's do it. And after doing that, after experimenting that, they realized that the sales went up by 20%. Okay, so that's the power of data. Now, guys, imagine there is no mathematics involved. You just looked into some pattern using some plots, some charts randomly, and you realize that bingo. This is in every card that I'm analyzing that went for checkout. These items are emerging, and then this is happening on a repeated basis. Maybe if we try to do something around this, maybe this will help scale our sales. And that's what exactly Walmart did. And then the intuition served well, and their strategy was a success. So this is nothing but the power of data. That's what exactly I'm trying to say here. The point that I want to emphasize here, I want to lay a lot of emphasis here, is the data. So now imagine any industry today, be it a retail store, like for example, I gave you the example of Walmart. You talk about Amazon, you talk about supply chain, you talk about sports, you talk about banking and finance. I was into banking and finance, and then you name and then think of any organization, any sector. So you will see that today, every sector has a lot of data, and therefore there is a very exponential rise in the demand of people who can actually make some sense out of data, and they just need pretty basic skills. I'm not talking about deploying statistics or probably machine learning, deep learning. I'm not going into all of those sophisticated stuff. I'm talking at a very basic level that you can actually leverage a very simple tool like Excel. You open Excel, there is some data, and you just select one or two columns, and you click on plot. A plot will emerge. It's as simple as that. Yes, this is how simple it is. And because there is a dearth of professionals in this domain, and therefore companies need people who can actually make some sense of the data. And then this is like a win-win situation, because you are able to build a career out of this domain, and at the same time the companies, they get professionals, they get people who can actually do this job for them. And then maybe that kind of a thing may turn out to be an amazing pattern that might change the way the company is doing the business, just like the the scenario that happened in Walmart case. So that's the reason why analytics, why there is so much of traction around this domain, and then why people say that building a career in data analytics or probably business as a business analyst is very rewarding. Okay, so let's move further. So now the question is, okay, so this seems like it's a very promising domain, and there's so many things that are happening here. So what kind of skills do I need to be there? How the companies will get the confidence that I am the person who can do this job for them. So probably the skills. See, a very simple thing to understand is that all of these things will not happen on pen and paper. Okay, you're not going to use manual calculators and then you try to calculate the average. Okay, that's not going to happen. So there are systems and softwares who are able to do all of this job within a second. And then one of the very popular programming languages is Python. Okay, when I started my career, Excel was one tool that I used, and Excel is one of the tools that every person uses, whether the person is an analyst or not. Okay, so whether you're an analyst or not, people use Excel to store their information. If they have some numerical data, they want to capture that, they will open Excel and they will put all of that information. Okay, so Excel is that simple. Okay, it's a complete GUI interface, that is graphical user interface. That means you need not code all of that. Okay, so apart from Excel, I worked on SAS, I worked on R, I worked on Python. So today we teach students on Python as well. So apart from Excel, you need to know Python. So Python is something that is a very easy language. It's very easy to understand because it's heavily skewed towards data analysis. So you need to know all of those data structures and OOPS concepts that will empower you to find out inferences and the patterns from the data, do a little bit of cleaning of the data, find out basic inferences, patterns from the data. And then that's what exactly Python will enable you. And it's very easy to learn Python, believe me. It does not take long. If you do not have any programming background, even still, you can learn Python very easily. It's not at all tough. Just like the way I remember I used to study Java and C++, so that was like really killer. So Python is really simpler in comparison to C++ and Java. Yeah. The third name, I'm sure a couple of you would not be knowing what exactly is a Tableau. So Tableau is a visualization software. Okay, so what it is, so simple. You open the interface, you search Tableau there on Google, you will see that it's a visualization software. You upload the data in that. It's a purely GUI interface. That means it's a drag and drop. You click some buttons, you drag the parameters from one to the other into the the plot region, and automatically the plots will pop up. So they're very fancy plots. So that's the reason Tableau is a very powerful data visualization software. And a lot of companies, they use Tableau. Okay, a lot of companies they use Tableau. The parallel names that I'll also give you, so there used to be a time when people used to talk about Quilt View. There's another tool in parallel that is called Power BI. But yeah, amongst all of these three, Tableau really wins the heart and then the mind of people, because Tableau is able to do a lot of visualization job very easily just by just simply dragging and dropping. It will generate amazing plots. They can be used in PPT, just like the way I built this PPT. So similarly, they can be copy pasted in PPT, and then you can share the presentation with your clients, with your boss, and whatever the case may be. Okay, so that's one. So Python, Excel, and then Tableau. Excel is, believe me, one takeaway from the session that I can give you, after working for 15 years, believe me, Excel is one tool that you must ace. If you really want to develop serious data skills, you really need to have amazing Excel skills. So if you know Excel well, it will become, a lot of data analysis will become very easy for you to understand. When I migrated, as in I transitioned from Excel to SAS, it actually became very easy for me to understand, how SAS works, how the codes work, and what exactly a particular code is doing, because I had a lot of clarity coming from Excel. So that actually really helped me connect the dots, build the bridge, and I was able to transition as a guy who knows SAS. Okay, I typically come from non-programming background. I do not know programming. So there are people who know programming better than me, but I know data analysis better than anybody else, because that's what exactly my forte is. Okay, so we need to be very good in terms of data, and then you will develop that skill over time. Once you start working in a company, you will develop that, and then moreover, and then all the courses that you will learn from, you will get the basic understanding over there. Okay, second, now just like the way aeroplanes are kept in hangars, similarly data is kept in database. Okay, there are databases. So in our time, people used to say that my vice president, business leaders, they used to coin this term. Okay, that today we have database. A time will come where there will be data lakes. Today we live in an era wherein it's not just data lakes, there are data oceans. Okay, so that means that there's enormous amount of data, the insane amount of data that you and I cannot imagine. So that's the reason the cloud technology has surfaced in the world. Okay, so SQL, which is like structured query language. SQL it is pronounced as SQL. So SQL, I believe in 2010 and 2011, when Oracle was also coming, it did not get enough traction. But believe me, today SQL is an indispensable skill, and as a business or a data analyst, you need to know how SQL works, because the data will always be kept in a company under SQL server, or maybe, somewhere in the cloud. So you need to write the query, bring the data into Python. You need to have that connectivity, from SQL, the data, seamlessly flows into Python, and then you start building your plots, analysis, or whatever the case may be, blah, blah, blah. So there's so much that can be done. So again, this will make you more employable. This will actually, increase your probability of getting hired by a company if you know, SQL well. You cannot undermine the importance of SQL. SQL appears to be very simple. It is plain vanilla English language, the way it is written, and then the writing codes is also extremely very simple. Okay. However, yes, it is simpler, but yes, companies, they prefer people to have that basic understanding, because that's very easy over there. Okay. So that's another thing. Third, domain knowledge. I cannot lay emphasis more. I will tell you why. Because if you do not know, let me go back to the Walmart case study. Okay, if you do not know that beer and diapers are selling together, you're not able to see that pattern, and you don't understand that these two products are the most selling products in our company. So you will not get an idea of bundling these two products together, and then maybe these products, they really help a company, or probably Walmart, increase their sales. So if I do not have that basic understanding of the business, I don't understand the business, I don't understand how Walmart works, how customers come, how do they buy, so what kind of patterns we can exploit, how we can leverage those kind of patterns from the business. I don't understand what are the KRAs, of any person who is in the store, what are the responsibilities that the person is entrusted with. I don't understand what are the metrics of the business. If I do not understand all of this, then of course, you cannot become a good business analyst. Believe me, in my years of experience, I have seen, now data analysts, data scientists, all of these domains have come up. But if you talk about a business analyst, a business analyst is a guy who actually has a very tremendous understanding of business. In fact, better than anybody in the business. He understands the business end to end. They are the people, I believe, I have worked with them, in my previous organization. So I used to see that, if I used to get stuck in my analysis, I used to call a business analyst. I used to ask them, is any deviation? Is there, if we can do this particular thing in a different way altogether? Will it going to be, kind of a compromise on our business KPIs? So I used to reach out to business analysts, and these people used to give amazing insights about the business. Now, let me give you a simple example to connect the dot. Okay, so in my previous company, what used to happen, we used to look into credit cards. Okay, just like American Express, just like HDFC Bank, or any banking organization, they offer credit card. Okay, now, so the credit card selling used to happen in US and UK, and we used to get all of their data to find out, the customers who is most likely to default on the credit card payments. It sounds like a probability, but I'll not get into all of that technical part. Okay, now see, focus is domain. So remember that my story will be woven around domain. Okay, now, so when new analysts used to come and they used to start working, so of course they understood how data analysis works. They used to create plots, and they used to do all of those fancy things that are needed, deploying statistics. But eventually, even after creating plots, they couldn't make sense out of that plot. Okay, there's an increasing trend, there's a decreasing trend. They used to say only all of that, plain vanilla. So I see that there's an increasing pattern there. But when I used to ask that, as the salary increases, the default also increases. You see, so I used to create a plot between the salary of the customer versus the default. So I used to see that there's some kind of an increasing trend. So I used to ask them, so this is what exactly you say that. So if I have a very high salary, if I have a fat salary, so my probability of default will also increase. So then these guys used to say, no, sir, this is not how it works. So yeah, I mean, you have to have a kind of a common sense. You have to throw the data in the real world and connect the dot with the real world. So imagine, if I have a fat salary, definitely I'll pay my the dues on time because I have money. I have a purchasing power, so I will definitely settle the dues. But imagine a person who has a very small salary and he has made a lot of purchases. It's most likely he will not be able to keep up the payment on time and he will default. I hope you're able to understand. So having a domain knowledge. So you'll say that domain knowledge is what? I mean, this is nothing but common sense. You're talking common sense. Yes, but guys, when you are into businesses, like for example, healthcare has a very different way of working. Banking has a very different way of working. Similarly, you go to sports, you need to have knowledge of the sports. Now imagine, I'm sure a lot of you will be very passionate about cricket, but I'm a guy who does not like cricket. Okay, it's my personal prejudice over there. So if you give me the data coming from CricBuzz and you say that, sir, can you find out who will actually do well in IPL versus who won't, and you give me a lot of information, I will definitely ask you, what is this particular thing saying? What exactly is a good property of a batsman? How can I see that that this guy is a good batsman? What is the checklist? Can you give me a checklist around that? Because I do not know anything about that. You will say that these are pretty common stuff. But yeah, it is common for you, my friend, but it is not common for me because I do not have any business understanding. So my analysis will go for a toss. So my point being is the domain knowledge will actually make you stand out of the crowd. And a good data analyst or a business analyst is a guy who understands business more than anybody else. Okay, so that's the importance of domain knowledge at the moment. Okay, data visualization, we have already talked about it when we were covering Tableau there. So yes, because eventually you will create some random plots there, and then basis that you will be able to draw inferences from the data, and then connect the domain knowledge with the plot to find out whether the inferences are being validated. You see that kind of a pattern showing up, that yes, the customer who has a very low salary, most likely that he is defaulting in comparison to a customer who has a high salary. His default rate is very low. So you will say that yes, I mean this is a fat salary guy, definitely he'll make payments on time. This is the low salary guy, most likely he may not be able to make payment on time. Just like a legit thing that is showing as a pattern in the data. So now, because you have all of that understanding, so you know that. So when we used to work in my previous company, so I used to connect with my client. I used to ask all of this. So what are the noticeable patterns that you have seen? Is there any way, new thing that is really shown up, and then you really want us to bake it into the policy? Can we change the policy? Shall I, train my folks on the new patterns that you are discussing right now? It's a lot of things to and fro used to happen because business was in a different location and I was analyzing the data by sitting in a different location altogether. Okay, another example. Let me give you another example. Now, in case of HDFC Bank, so 2 years ago, I was interviewing a candidate. Okay, and this guy, again, he was working in the loan segment, and he was typically analyzing mortgages. The customers who will default their payments on loan EMIs, they will not pay on time. So I asked him, how do you decide? And in case if there is any information is missing that is not available because the application form does not contain any information, so how do you manage that? So he told me, so despite of deploying a statistical analysis or maybe finding patterns, we simply shoot an email to the production department. They reach out to the client, they share the information, and that's how we get all of that information. So it's a very different a way of working from a company to company. So I asked them, don't you apply any domain knowledge just to find out all of this information? So he said that no, because we can always reach out to the client, so it's better that we get the information from the client. So I said, fairly okay. So it's like you will work in different organizations and there'll be a different methodology involved in working, and then that's how you develop your domain knowledge. Okay, I cannot lay stress. I mean, and this session is very limited. I cannot talk about domain knowledge a lot, but yeah, I hope you got the idea over there. Okay, the last point. Now, data analysis. Now, see, let me tell you about data analytics domain. See, guys, one thing that I can share, and I can actually vouch for this statement, is because in my 15 years of journey, I've learned so many things being on job at the same time. That's like my enriched experience that I have. Okay, now, data analysis is not a rocket science domain. It is a domain where if you have bucket loads of common sense, and let me lay stress on that, common sense, which is not so common. Okay, so if you have bucket loads of common sense, you can become an amazing data analyst. Second, eye for detail. The moment you see that, like for example, Walmart analyst, they were looking into all of the transactions, and quickly they noticed that these kind of patterns are emerging. They're surfacing time and again. So maybe let's explore this more. Okay, so just by looking into the data, they were able to sense what is good, what is bad. So that's like eye for detail. You guys will develop over time. Okay, as you will get more and more exposure into the data, all of these things will come. Okay, common sense. Like low income people will definitely default. The chances of them defaulting more in comparison to a high, or probably fat salary guy. Now again, this is again common sense. But yeah, the point is that if you connect your problem with the real world, you throw that problem in the real world, you try to, see what is happening in the real world, it will become very easy for you to decode that pattern. I have done it in the past. I keep on doing it on a daily basis. Whenever I confront a problem, I see that, what is the kind of pattern that we'll see, because see, data is coming from where? Data is coming from world. And any business interact with humans. Humans are customers, they are vendors, they are suppliers, so the humans have behavior. So if humans have behavior, there's a certain behavioral pattern that you see, definitely data will exhibit that kind of a pattern. Okay, a very simple example of a pattern is, imagine Titanic. Now, in case of Titanic, is actually a very big problem. It's a very big case study in machine learning. Okay, now in Titanic, we have seen the movie. That's the reason I'm taking this example. So in case of Titanic, we knew that if you're a class 1 passenger and you're a female, the probability of surviving of this particular passenger is higher than somebody who is coming from class 3. Now, what is this? This is nothing but the pattern. See, humans have pattern. So because humans have pattern, that kind of a pattern will definitely be present in the data. Okay, and once it gets etched in your memory, you will be able to leverage that kind of a pattern for your business. Because at the end of the day, we all as data analysts have a very basic requirement. We have a very basic objective, is to find out patterns that can save the cost of a company and then optimize the revenue, maximize the revenue, so that we make a lot of money. Are we able to put more and more dollars into the pocket of a company? Then we really do a fancy job over there. At the end of the day, this is what matters. Okay, I hope all of this is not technical at all. So now I know that this domain is good. I also understand what are the skills that are there. What kind of roles do we see in the market? Okay, what kind of roles are there? So most of the roles that you see there, so already the names are showing up on the page itself. So like I coined this term several times before we landed up on this page, business analyst. So business analyst is a guy who really has tremendous amount of understanding. He has really amazing understanding about business processes. Okay, he understands how business works end to end. Like, for example, Amazon. When the customer visits a website, then what happens when he's doing the search, how the pages are optimized, how we ensure that, when he searches something, he gets the accurate, pages, or in fact, the products gets stacked up together. You are searching iPhone and it shows you Lakh product. Imagine your customer experience, right? You will shut down the website, So how Amazon is making sure, all of those things are happening. And at the end of the day, you're able to see the reviews, you're able to easily add the products in the cart, and eventually, you check it out. So, so this is how end-to-end stuff works. What can be the goof ups? Where we can see the goof ups will happen. How to ensure that the customer experience is amazing, there's no problem on the website. Are the pages really optimized? How can we ensure that the customer stays longer on the website? What all things should show up apart from the product on that page? How can the page design be? How should I design the page as a designer, as an architect? So there's so many things. If you see there, as a consumer, it appears very, very simple to us. But believe me, the people sitting at the back, they do a phenomenal job of ensuring these things are happening. The customers are not dropping from the website, and eventually, the sale happens. Correct. So this is what exactly a lot of people do. So one guy is a guy who is a data analyst with a business analyst who understand all of this pretty well. He understands the customer behavior. He understands, what is the psyche of a customer, when the customer will purchase, or probably, when he will put it on in the cart and he will forget it, So business analyst has a pulse of all of these things. Okay. Now, data analyst is a guy who steps who actually, goes one step further. Okay. Just like the way name suggests, data analyst, this is a guy who is typically, looking into the data and trying to find out the pattern more, so he understands, a little bit of a statistical analysis as well. He has a basic understanding of the statistics, and he tries to, summarize the data, draw inferences, try to find out the patterns, draw patterns, and then tries to validate all of that information. Okay, so that's another thing. Now, as you join as a business analyst or data analyst, you keep on working, you interact with the client, you gain a lot of exposure, you also gain a lot of experience too. And then that is the time you rise in the ladder. you get vertical movements, and then that's how you become an analytics manager. Okay, now you have a team under you. Okay, and then the similar folks who are like joining as a data analyst, they are again freshers, and now you are supposed to lead the team of these data analysts or business analysts. Okay, help them grow. Speak to the client. Interact with the client more often. Give them the pulse of the business. Do the discussion with them, and then see what all you can add in terms of value, how you can innovate to make business processes simpler using the power of data, and then you do whatever it takes to really make it amazing. So that's the role of an analytics manager. So you understand that as an analytics manager, definitely your role, the horizon broadens up, and definitely you're interested with more and more responsibilities over there. So if you ask me, have you been there? Yes, I have been through all of that, and believe me, they are very challenging yet very fascinating and interesting problems that we solve on, rather I would say, if not day-to-day basis, but on a week-on-week basis. Okay, and that has really kept me energized and motivated in staying in the business analytics domain, because of course I always had to confront a new problem every time. So I'll not go into the nitty-gritties of it, but yeah, so there's so many things that we used to do. Okay, now there are companies that get into the consulting side of it, so you get the consultant role as well. So that means a company like EY or more probably Deloitte, these are the organizations which are like consulting roles. So a company like CCD, if I'm not sure whether you have heard this story or not, it actually surfaced in the last couple of weeks, because I come from stock market, so definitely I keep a track of how the stocks are doing. And that's how I came to know about the leadership qualities of CCD management, how they really come up from bad debts. So they spoke to Deloitte. Deloitte finally analyzed all of their financial statements. And then Deloitte came up with some suggestions. They said that, if you do all of this, most likely you will be able to, pull your company out of debts. And then, slowly and gradually this will start becoming profitable. If not profitable, then you can actually, go into break even. So that's like a fascinating thing. The management decided to do that. And today, CCD has become the talk of the town. In fact, the share also shot up like anything. A lot of people have started becoming interested in CCD stock again. So CCD, I'm not recommending the stock, by the way, but yeah. So management consultants, the data analyst folks who work as a management consultant are the folks who actually analyze all of this, and they will tell you where exactly is the problem area, and then how you can address that problem, how you can solve that problem, that eventually it becomes profitable. So that's the role of a management consultant. Okay, then product owners are the supreme folks, who own the business completely. Okay, it's like a very apex level position. So again, a very leadership position over there. Okay, and again, in the end, you see operations managers. They're like analytics manager, but yeah, operations manager are typically those guys who just not only look into the data, find out the patterns, they also look into the business operations as well. They're interested in both the things, with both the things rather, I would say. And then they wear both the hat, one of a data guy, and then again as the ops manager as well. So these are the kind of roles that you will see in the market. And of course, the horizon broadens as you slowly and gradually, you upskill yourself into more serious stuff, like knowing statistics, knowing machine learning and stuff like that. Okay, I'll leave that discussion on for some at the time at the moment. Okay, so how I can realize all of this. This is where Great Learning Career Academy comes in the picture. So I'll quickly talk about it. Okay, so Great Learning. So let me introduce Great Learning. So Great Learning is an organization that has started in 2012 somewhere, and then so recently acquired by Byju's. It's a Byju's-led group at the moment, and it's one of the best edtech organizations. They got the reward of best edtech organization in 2020. There have been more than 4 million learners, and we are currently present in 170 plus countries. That means we are a global organization at the moment, and the people talking about different products. Like for example, I look into data science and engineering, where we teach a lot of serious stuff. So when these people transition in the role of a data scientist or something, so we see that on an average, 40%, 50% hike is there. They are able to secure that level of hike over there. In fact, there is more than that, but yeah, these are the the very neutral numbers that we see here. So 50% average hike is there, and then there are more than 4,700 experts who are impaneled with us. Like I am one of them. So similarly, the folks who are similar with similar set of skills, and then they really do a fascinating job. So our job is to ensure that you guys are able to get some value. You are able to, get amazing opportunities in life. We prepare you for that level. Okay, so that's what exactly it is, and then the team is very passionate about that. Yeah. Now, when we talk about the career academy, now as per one of the surveys, the people who recently graduate from a college are not able to secure something good. And this is not just me. Naukri is saying that yes, the people are not able to secure something good, and I'm because probably the colleges that are teaching, that's a conventional education, and then today after COVID, or rather I would say after this pandemic, world has completely changed, and it has become more competitive, and then there is a lot of demand of the people in different domains as well. It's not just in data analysis. But however, if I go back to the previous slide where I showed you that every sector needs people who can analyze the data and find out patterns. So this particular skill, if you develop, you can become employable in any domain, because data is everywhere. So you can work in healthcare, you can work in automotive sector, you can also work in telecom, you can also work in supply chain, you can also work in edtech company like here I'm working. At the same time, you can also go and work in retail analytics. You can also work in banking and financial domain as well. So this actually makes you a lot more employable. But as I said, that I'm talking as a trainer right now. You really need to learn. You really need to have that edge that will actually help you get that job that you look forward to. Okay, so yeah, so the learning is paramount, because the learning, the equations of learning will never change. So if I say that you need to know Python, so then you really need to know Python well. So all of those things are baked in the kind of courses that we teach here. So that's one. Okay, second, now at one side you see that these are very contradictory images. At one side, there are people who are anxious to secure something in their life. They really want to start their career. Okay, and then that in a very elegant way. Okay, and at the same time, there are organizations who want to hire a lot of people, but it's still, they are not able to do that. And then I understand the challenge, because I'm facing the challenge at the moment here. In hiring too, that there are people who really do not have that skill that we look forward to that. Okay, so we act as a bridge wherein you come and you upskill yourself. We make you industry ready, and you're going to start working. Okay, so that's the kind of role the Great Learning Career Academy will be doing. In fact, the entire Great Learning is committed to create that level of impact across all the programs that we have. And this is what Career Academy would come in the picture. They will do a fancy job over there. So what are the statistics? Are there any success stories over there? So yes, we offer full-time programs. So that's one. Second, you will get 10 guaranteed job opportunities. So that means there will be 10 opportunities that will be shared once you graduate from the program. Okay, there are more than 12,000 companies that are there to hire people. We run different placement drives, and there's so many things that happen. Okay, so once you're in the program, so probably you'll understand more about that. The average salary range that we see is between 3.5 to 11 lakhs per annum. And these are the numbers that appear to be very bright, considering that everyone is a fresher and going into the business and then starting their first job. So if you're able to get something in this domain, that's really amazing. But guys, that's a beginning. That's how you begin with. Okay, and then sky's the limit. As you slowly and gradually, you start working, and then you learn things aggressively on the job. Definitely, companies are willing to give good hike, because there is a dearth of professionals, seriously good professionals. It's not as if you saw some random YouTube videos and you think you're ready. No, that's not how it works. Okay, so that means you need to have serious learning, and that thing will take you to the places that will actually help you move in this roles, mobilize, transition very quickly. Okay, but then it's learning at the end of the day. And then the simplest statistic here is the 5 offers that are rolled out per minute. So that's what is it's happening in Great Learning, and we are committed to do this job. Okay, now Normally it's going to be a 16-week journey where you learn data analytics, software development, automation. So these are the kind of courses that are being offered over there. I would suggest, reach out to the team. They will be the best folks who can actually, guide you on these programs. They will also help you understand, how you can enroll, how you can take your learning ahead. And, this will help you build an amazing career out of that. Yeah. Folks, any questions? Anybody who has any questions, please feel free to ask.
Thanks a lot, Mukul. I think that was a lot of information what you have given to our learners who have joined us on a weekday. We have a lot of questions here, Mukul, where people are from non-IT backgrounds after doing the
Yeah.
course of data analyst. So what preference is given? Is it that okay, the non-IT people are not given a preference to become a data analyst?
No, it's not as if. So, folks, let me give you a little bit of insight over there. So, like for example, Uber comes and then hires at Great Learning. Okay, the lot of chaps who get into Uber and then they are all non-technical analysts. Companies do not have that prejudice or a bias that we only need computer experts. No, this domain is a domain where you come from a computer science background that is like fairly welcomed. But at the same time, if you do not have any technical domain, that is also an edge. So if you come in and say that I'm interested in working at Great Learning, would you be interested in hiring me? I'll do that. Why? Because that if you do not come from a technical background, that's like an edge. Because now you will take your work very seriously. You would have definitely taken your learning very seriously. You will have an amazing understanding of Python. Of course, a technical round will happen, and that's how the company will gauge, how much knowledge you have. So at the moment, there is no prejudice. There's nothing like that only technical guys will be hired. No, the non-technical guys are equally preferred. In fact, in some organizations, in some businesses, there are people who are much preferred. Let me give you a simple example to connect this down. So if let's say you go and then you start working in a financial company, like American Express also comes and hire at Great Learning, and you say that I come from commerce background, I have done my MBA, or maybe I understand how businesses work. Definitely that's an edge for you in comparison to a guy who is like a mechanical engineer. So that's how it works. So it's not as if a mechanical engineer will not get hired. It's not as if it's just that my point is that a non-technical guy is equally preferred. Yeah.
Okay. Mukul, so there are a lot of questions in the chat where students are asking that how much of coding is required to become a data analyst?
Okay, so at the basic level, not much, but yes, an understanding of Python is required. This will actually give you that edge in the market. So do not, even think of just not doing it. Do not even think of consider it to be a bread and butter. And in most of the cases, programming is something that company will definitely check upon when it comes to interviews, because how will I get the confidence that you're a good data analyst? See, domain is something I cannot check. Imagine, because once you start working, only then I will have an understanding of how much of business you understand, that whether you understand the business of the business or not. So an easy way is to check how much of a good coder you are, how you can code. If I give you a data and I ask you to find out something, that's how you will bring Python, SQL, or Tableau into picture, and then you will try to do an amazing job over there. So yes, that actually makes a strong case in itself. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so there are questions. If let's say if I'm looking for a career in data science, do I need to know data structure and algorithm also?
No. At the very beginning, no. Data structure and algorithms that are needed when you get into more serious roles, like data engineering, or probably you need to create the entire structure from scratch. That is what that is where you would need all of those things. 15 years of career, and then I hardly know data algorithms at the moment, and I've done a pretty good job over there. So here, the point is you need to have good understanding of the business. You need to have good understanding of the tool that you're using to find out, inferences and the pattern from the data. So not really, but if you know that, that's of course, that will work in your favor too. Yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Sure. Thank you, Mukul.
So those are the kind of questions that we have, or anything else? Any other questions? All right, then. So I think that will be all from my side. Thank you so much, folks. Thank you for listening me with a lot of patience. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful evening. Stay safe. Thank you. Have a nice weekend. Bye, everyone. Signing off. Hey, shall I leave?